September meeting of, this is the October meeting, the September meeting of the Church of Our Savior, Virginia-Highland Association. We're here at the Church of Our Savior. We'll call it to order. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Without objection or comment, it is adopted at 7:03, and my apologies for being late. Reverend Thompson is on the way back from his brother's wedding and may or may not make it, so he said to consider ourselves welcome, whether or not he had gotten back here or not, and he would love to come see us. Present as we call the meeting to order are Ms. Hewitt, Ms. Ragland, Mr. Lambert, Ms. Wyndham, Mr. White, Ms. Carlisle, Ms. Keenan, and Mr. Becker. We have no police and fire reps, so I went over and put up a sign that perhaps they will come in. And no city reps, so we will move right on rapidly to variances. And we will start with the 14-241 Virginia Circle. Ms. Power,
Hi.
how are you?
Great. Thank you for letting us come.
Really, we have no choice under state.
Back.
Okay, but thank you so much for thanking us. Just to be clear.
Okay. Existing property is non-conforming in several ways, smaller than typical required R4, and the existing house. If anybody would like to hold one of these in their hands, I'm sure you're welcome. Of course.
Can I get one behind you? Thank you.
Oh, excuse me, just a minute. I want to make sure I have the variance form in my hand. Okay, so. Existing house. And we're on a corner lot, so we have a half-depth front yard. We would like to do the addition so it is in line with the existing house, which would require us to reduce that side yard or a half-depth front yard to 8 feet. So that's the variance we're asking for. And again, non-conforming on size and existing house. Also, we have some major trees here. There's a nice big poplar on the property line. There's a big white oak in the alley. There's a sweet gum. There he is. So by keeping everything sort of tied up to the house, we're trying to minimize the impact on those trees. Floor area has been calculated and we're under on that. We're good with that. Impervious has been calculated. I can show you that. We're good on that. We are handling the water management by this terrace, which will have gravel underneath and will have open joints, gutters and downspouts, come to the terrace, holds the water the required time, and then it perks out. So that should work very well. Pretty excited about that. We have tree protection plan, if you'd like to see that. I've got copies of that, and we're good with trees. We calculated the percentages, and that should all be fine. When we met Wednesday, you had asked, could you go to the city and submit the water management, the tree, and also be sure that for variance, the city could see clearly that we do not exceed the 35-foot height maximum. So I did go down and meet with Enrique, and we did file, they did accept the drawing showing the height. Nothing new, they had seen the drawings before, but it was nice to have it clearly indicated. They did say, we do not want to review, we cannot review, we do not review the water management or the trees until the permit is filed. So I did go and talk. Any questions, anything else I can tell you about the project?
So I agree that they don't, because that'll get kicked over to stormwater. What we wanted and still would like is that the plans show on there, and perhaps they do, the new plans show that the garden is on there. Whether it's adequate or not, if they reject it, then you'll have to revise it. They will, I think, not reject it based on what we've seen. But our goal, and this is, you're not the if we didn't explain ourselves well, we really have little excuse because it's come up before, but it's also highly variable response when you go downtown, depending on who you, most folks don't wind up talking directly to Enrique. I would have thought there's a chance Enrique might have, in any case, that's all we want, is that to be on the site plan. If that makes it part of the plan, I know you're gonna do it, but if it's not on the site plan, it makes it an optional.
It will absolutely be included in the permit drawings. We've already had the work done, we've already paid for it, so there's no question that we're gonna be using it. They said we will not review this for the variance. Has
So
nothing to do
we
with
didn't need
variance.
them to review it, we just wanted them to stamp that as being part of the pipe. For example, they don't, well, it's not completely.
Let me show you what I gave them and I'll.
Sure, let's see, maybe we're on this.
Because I'm happy to do whatever y'all want me to do, you know that, right?
This is an ongoing problem. Do you have any comments, Debbie, about how to solve this? This goes
It's on the
close.
site plan, I think
It's really,
we're good.
The terrace is on the site line, pretty detailed drawing.
which in theory, if they were greatly insufficient, you might have to revise tremendously. It doesn't appear that they are, so you're probably gonna be fine.
And I
but-
brought extra copies if
Yeah.
y'all want to look
Yeah.
at it. Here's what I did, I took it
No,
down,
we're satisfied.
stamped,
Yeah, okay, let's see what you got there. Debbie, can you look at what they got there?
but he said, I will
Survive
stamp
this.
this and I will take this and put this into the various package. He said, we will not look at, review the water quality. He said, oh, that's nice that you got it. And I'm delighted y'all are asking
Yeah.
for it because it would be lousy for me to go for permitting and not know. This takes some time to get done. And same thing with the trees. It's done. It will be absolutely included in the permit. They don't want it now.
They didn't stamp it?
No, it's, they didn't stamp the other 2 pages, but they did stamp the elevation.
And again, he said, do not leave this me. I do not want it. Tell me what to
They're a
do.
little busy. What was the original
Yeah.
submission?
How long would it have taken to stamp that stamp down there twice more?
Well, you know, he didn't want to
No,
stamp
it's
it.
it's
if they
cool,
weren't
it's
gonna
all good.
review it,
There's a
so-
limit, there really is a limit. We have this variable response, and I appreciate your
Exactly
effort.
right.
I
You
know,
got it.
yeah.
So what was submitted was the site plan.
Here's the stamp.
This is existing.
Here's the city stamp. on this. That's so sweet.
Now,
Yeah.
I think they just stamped the application. I don't think the stamp is on it. They've got them. He showed them to me today, but I
If
think
it's
it's
stamping the
all
whole
they
thing,
gave
We know
me.
how to
it still
contact
gets
you
reviewed
for
for
some
long,
reason.
so it doesn't make sense. So you're gonna go.
Yeah.
Search under your house.
I'd prefer not that, but no, we're absolutely committed to doing this, and again, that's why we got the landscape architect
No, no,
involved.
yeah, I think you did well.
Hold on,
Yeah.
this one is,
There you
this
go.
is the original.
That's it.
And that one's stamped.
Yeah, but it doesn't have, well, it does sort of.
Does it have the trees on it?
No,
Yeah,
there were a number,
well-
I mean, it's got them cited.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got them cited.
Yeah.
It just doesn't have we wanted the details of the proposed stormwater mitigation stamp, so that at least that was the starting and ending point of it. And then it wasn't just, there's gonna be a terrace. Take our word for it, it'll be good. We do believe all of y'all, but that's just not the way to do business in a big city.
And believe
And
me,
for members of the board, this is, I mean, I hadn't had the pleasure of plowing through the planning, sitting through interminable discussion of the planning. This goes up all the time. Objects to get the approval based on a specific site plan with as many details in it as possible, and that protects both the applicant who can then build to that and the neighbors who can at least ask that it be built to that, so that whatever at least was conceived and approved at least happens, whether it turns out to be adequate or not.
Yeah, I
It's
think we're-
frustrating when we can't get, and this has
Just
started
make it part
happening in
of
the
your-
last 6 months, really, am I
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it happened last week. Make it part of your motion that's this plan plus the stormwater management plan and tree preservation plan that was discussed at your meeting this day.
I guess we could do that, we'll
Oh,
have to
he
have
also
everybody
stamps.
sign, we'll have to have
Stamp
the
it.
applicant sign off on it, we'd have to
Stamp
sign it. It's
like
really
stamp
weak.
something for me.
I know it is,
Yeah.
but it's really a commitment that the homeowner and the architect are making with the civic
Know what else to
association.
do, I mean, she's
And the
gone
city
down and tried
probably
to do
won't
exactly what we asked her to do.
Again, his argument is,
Heard that.
His argument to me doesn't really make sense because they're not reviewing all of this stuff to make sure it's all to code either. So they stamp this without a formal, thorough review. That goes through a.
Right, nobody from the city came out to see if any of this was right. They do have a certified surveyor whose word they took, which is helpful, but they are depending on that certified surveyor. In fact, that's what they're relying on legally.
And his response was, that will
Right.
be handled at permitting. If you don't get the variance, then it won't be looked at, and nobody needs to review it. If you do get the variance, you will have to have the water management and the tree protection to get the permit. So they're not letting me off the hook.
I mean, I think that we can do that, make the motion with those conditions, and try as we go forward in future, just to be very specific about the request. Not that, I mean, you did what we asked and they just didn't do, yeah, but
We'll
that
try to
you want
work
these
with them.
stamped for the record. Okay, so we have to see if there are any other.
What day did you go down?
Today.
Today? I should have been less busy today than they were last week.
And again, I don't think that was it. I mean, he was pretty clear that this does not have anything to do with the variance. or anything.
It's happened many times, so,
Yeah.
from increasing frequency with different people. So it's
No,
okay.
I'm not, yeah.
Debbie, do you have a suggestion? I really, we can sign a sheet of paper here, but boy, oh boy, is that flimsy if we ever.
As I said, it's a commitment between the homeowner, the architect, and the civic association.
It's a commitment, it's a verbal commitment in this meeting on tape, that's about the weight of this piece of paper here.
Well, what we've often done is just ask for more detail in the explanation here, which is all on this one site plan that they do stamp. So I'm not sure if there's information, you know.
I'm trying to get at future ones more than this, I think these folks will have to go at it, but, all right.
I'm happy to leave, you know, the tree protection and the water with you. I'm just saying, the city does not want it at this point.
Well, why don't you leave them with us, just for our record, why don't you sign them and leave them with us? And I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to approve on the site plan dated 10/13. Well, you had a new one stamped, amended, what did they stamp today? They did stamp something?
The elevation.
The elevation.
Okay, originally filed on
And this
10/10, and as amended with elevations on 10/13. Excuse me, 9/10, 9/10, not 10/10, the first one. Okay.
Are these the ones you'll leave with that?
One copy?
If
Thanks
you
for
and
trying.
the owners will sign that, but that's what you're, just sign your name to it.
You put today's date, and we'll go from there. We'll get a drop of your blood.
You can have our first one.
How many people,
Not so quick. We need more details.
how will one get a permit without doing the tree protection and the water management? I mean, it would stop there, right?
In theory.
Oh, golly.
But I mean, if it wouldn't, the point is, they've issued the permit, there's no, if it's not executed, it would be nice to have a formal record of what exactly was to be done in the set of plans, and it seems to be
These have both
a
of
bit of a distance between the permitting and the inspection and the review later if things don't work right. And if things don't work right, we'd actually just like to see if A, curiously, it was built, just didn't function, which is usually what happened, and then we could maybe learn something from that, or all this stormwater stuff is also 2.5 years old, so we're trying to really figure out how it's gonna be work, and we're not sure, and they're not sure, so it's a little, we're feeling with it. Thank you for your effort. There's a motion and a
We have to
second.
sign in both pages.
Is there further discussion or questions from anyone, comments from anyone? Any comments from the board? I think we're ready to vote then. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. All right, there are no, that was unanimous, I believe, so thank you all for your efforts. We'll see you at the VHCA meeting, no, this is the VHCA meeting. We'll see you at the NPU meeting next Monday at Hillside.
And I'm trying to be there by 7:15 at the latest. I mean, it's like Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if anybody doesn't want their handout, I'm happy to take it back and I'll use it next week. Save some paper.
Save the tree.
D14, 213 Drury Street has been deferred for another month. The request of the applicant pending some resolution. Some issues with neighbors. D14, 197, 657 Crest Hill. Sorry.
Yes, glad I found this.
We would have called you.
Who's Lola?
I texted you.
Oh, thank you
I emailed you.
very much. Yeah, I was actually trying to find Chip. So I'm new to this process. Is everybody here at the board?
Just here around this august table.
Oh, okay.
However, I think most people in the audience have been on the board at one time or another, so you're. Most of them wish they had been, okay.
I wish they had not.
I have miniaturized versions of the site plans and elevations and I've got the larger one, but plop down for whoever wants to see, or at least have one. Okay. Okay, for the benefit of not having done this before, is this pretty much like last time in terms of
You're good,
proceeding?
you're good, there's no gunshots or anything.
Okay, that's good to go. Okay, my name's Casey Libby. I'm a co-owner of 657 Crest Hill Avenue. My wife Stephanie is the other owner. She's putting her kids to sleep. I'm the only applicant, and I am requesting a variance for the purpose of getting, the variance is for an encroachment on the setback for the west side of the property. Currently, we have a 1,275 square foot home. The west wall is, I think, closer than 3 feet to the property line. We're asking for a variance up to 3 feet to the property line, so that there is a bit of continuity there. For those who aren't familiar with this, one of the reasons that we're asking for that setback is that we've got a stormwater sewer line that runs under our yard at a 45-degree angle that limits the space back we can use without building on top of that storm sewer pipe. So we tried to box in our addition the way we did to avoid having too much coverage over there. The actual total addition, after accounting for demolition of some paved area and a current deck that's there, is a total of 1,181 square feet. 800 of that is for the addition, and the remainder of that is for the deck. We are asking for the removal of 2 trees, and as far as drainage goes, because this is a plus 1,000 square foot addition after the demolition, accounting for demolition and reconstruction, we've also shown on our site plan that we will be adding a rain garden. The rain garden is based upon the table for measurements provided for in Atlanta's new, I can't remember what the guidelines are called, but green stormwater management guidelines, green infrastructure in single-family residences, and our square footage is 1,181 square feet. The guidelines for rain gardens provide that for your first 1,000 square feet of addition, you have to have a 60 square foot rain garden, and then for the second 1,000 square feet, you need a 70 additional square feet of rain garden. Well, we go over 1,000 by 181, so 181 into 1,000 is 0.181. You multiply that by 70, it gives you an additional, I think, 12.7 square feet that we would add on to the 60. So that would be a 77,000. I mean, not 77,000. My Lord. Only wish we had that much land. 77 square feet of rain garden. The guidelines also provide that provide for the owner to do a infiltration test, which allows for, if your yard sucks down the water at a sufficient at a high enough rate, you can reduce the size of the rain garden, given and determine based upon how quickly your water absorbs the land absorbs the water. I did the test. I've got copies of my calculations and pictures and all that, and showed that over the course of 50 minutes, our yard pulled in 4.75 inches. The only reason I couldn't go any further is by the time that was done, our 18-inch hole had gotten sediment at the bottom and had completely dissipated. And when I could go down to 17.5 inches, but it showed that there was a pretty high absorption rate or infiltration rate for our yard. The guidelines allow for a rain garden to be reduced 10% per 0.5 inches per hour of water that's sucked down. Ours was at least 4.75 per hour over 50 minutes, so we have reduced the size of our rain garden. Really, based on a calculation, could have almost reduced it to nothing. So what we've offered is say we're going to build a rain garden that is half the size of what would be required in order to provide for some kind of mitigation of the drainage that will be created by the addition despite the infiltration test.
Casey, I have a question.
Yeah.
How did you decide on the location there rather than kind of down in this lower corner?
So the yard, if you don't mind me coming around and show you.
Okay.
We have our flow is right here. Our flow across the yard kind of goes down this way. So, and then it kind of does come down, and the main reason it does hit that retaining wall. So this was the main point where it hits that wall and can provide for that absorption. That will also be able to catch, water coming off the addition coming out this way and then coming down that way. That's kind of the joint or the juncture where water down here and water down here flows, and then it's pretty much a straight line down that way. So rain garden is kind of captures the juncture of that water.
I apologize. I know we talked about the 40 feet at the planning committee, but I didn't see it on the plan. No. I mean, like the scale of it.
Sure.
I didn't observe it on the drawing. Oh, it seems really small. Well, as you know, I have intimate experience with the water flow.
Oh, I do too, and I have it with our neighbor as well.
Right.
And
Well, what is going here? What will, I mean, this is kind of a dead corner, right? There's really not much you can do there.
yeah.
I guess, would you be open to, if there continue to be flow issues
Yeah.
after the construction and after this rain garden, it looks like you would have the space to expand it if that were determined to be helpful.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that's just kind of the swamp right there.
Well, yeah, I know that is, I think, the ultimate low part of our yard.
Because that's where it came into 653, was
Yeah.
all.
Oh, yeah,
The
certainly.
waterfall.
So, and the rain garden's positioned to prevent that, and prevent the other thing, and trying to also, keep in with some, we have a landscape plan that a guy named Chris Moore had done up for us that he had originally some, anise plants there, and we decided to take a bunch of them, we decided to kind of put them there because it was at the place that Chip had identified for me when we were walking a lot, and that's just kind of a place where it all flows in. If there's overflow beyond that rain garden, then certainly we don't want that. A lot of that rain flow is also coming from David Jones's property. David Jones is about to basically redo his entire property. So part of the issue we're looking at is, were we even going to address that? David Jones is going to hopefully be making significant changes at his property for the better. So we're addressing the addition of drainage or stormwater from our addition, and at the same time putting in the rain garden to trap that to some degree, but we don't want to invest in overdoing it when we have no idea what David Jones is going to end up doing when his property is affected. His property is going to be on ours. I mean, we're certainly open to that. I specifically have done this to make sure it's within the guidelines, but I also recognize that there's issues with our upside neighbor that we have to contend with as well. I don't want to do too much and then find out when he does his work
That it's
he's-
not effective.
Yeah, exactly.
But it looks like you will have room to make it bigger if
Yeah.
it turns out that this is
Yeah,
helpful
Sure.
and your landscaper says after David's construction,
yeah.
you know, if you double this, it's gonna
My
be helpful.
expectation is David Jones is not gonna want all that water across his yard,
Yeah.
and that he's going to try and change the direction of it, put it back at the back of his property, which where it was originally intended, if you kind of follow the drainage paths, and where the original storm sewer lines were. But now it's just coming across his yard. It's something that, once he's done, that flow that you've seen before is probably not even gonna, I mean, that may not even be there. He might change it to the back, in which case we might want something towards the back. But this directly addresses our addition, and also does, I think, to a degree, address some of the problem that our neighbor has got coming into our yard, but
I think we talked about it I mentioned it at the last meeting.
Yeah.
That, you know, I understand that you're doing what is required. It seems to me that this property may be one that you don't want to cut corners on, that you would want to have as much as possible. I also understand looking to see what might happen when this next renovation happens, but it also may not happen. People want to renovate, they don't, you know, find the money, so you may have the same conditions there for the next 5 years.
yeah.
But you're doing what is required. I would personally have liked to have seen that to be larger, because I know, you know, it's, when there's a rain, it's probably not, it's something that flows over there pretty rapidly into the next year. And you're taking out 2 trees, which also help to absorb some of this water. And then another question I have too is the storm sewer. I know you mentioned it was something that, was it built on the property, or is it the city of Atlanta's? Is there an easement for that?
It's private. We actually had a city inspector, when we did we bought the house and did the interior, and someone from the city believed it had an easement on it, so we restricted us a deck on the back. We actually had an inspector, or a guy with the watershed department, come out and investigate it. He said there's no city easements on the stormwater line coming from the street or the one that goes parallel to our back property line, that it's all private, so that gave us a little bit of wiggle room in there on our addition, but we don't want to build over on top of it. So our addition is up in the air, so there's a post near it, but it's not going to be on the ground.
Where does it go? Does it go across
I have dug
653?
all the way to the concrete wall, and it looks like it goes into the concrete wall, so it comes out under where your old property, I believe, was.
Just right, so does it keep
Back
going
corner.
at this angle?
I don't know, they didn't
The
do a
reality
measurement
is,
on it.
David and I were just smiling because this is a repeat of the same drama that we heard on Briarcliff. These were not typically by the developer. They were installed to get rid of the water, make it look good for a few years or decades, and they were not recorded, they were not conveyed to the city. The city declines any responsibility for them in the more severe cases. Some old board members will hear this. I mean, there are parts of Rock Creek flow directly under Virginia, down at the bottom of the hill by there, and in the worst case scenarios, they're quite many feet down, and we hope they're quite secure, but it's just really very difficult to know what condition any of them are in. Casey, I wonder about this. I mean, I know this was a new phenomenon to you, and one you didn't expect to encounter this entire discussion and if you'd only done this 10 years ago, you wouldn't have encountered it, so. But in fact, it's gonna be, it's 3 for 3. We have 3 of these tonight.
Yeah.
The one got deferred, and it's full of flow wells, and this is the wave of the future. I can't imagine anything your neighbors do is gonna, boy, you will be extremely lucky if it doesn't make everything worse downhill because you're downhill. I mean, even under the best of circumstances. As you can see, these regulations, which were really aimed at commercial building primarily, are not terribly stringent. You went out and dug a hole, stuck a pin in there, and you did it right. It's the best that I can tell you did it right. But that's hardly, I would argue, that may be what it's required, because it was an afterthought in the regs, I can tell you. But anything else you could do, when you go to dig this and plant this, the amount of incremental effort that it's gonna take whoever does this to expand it's pretty slight compared to the initial effort of having to bother with it. So anything else you can do will be greatly, I think it is only gonna benefit you forever, and it does raise the bar a little bit, especially if there's a variance needed next door. When those folks come to see us, we'll be able to go and take a look on that. In general, I think, I think the rain garden's gonna fill kind of rapidly based on anecdotal, purely anecdotal, not scientific, evidence offered by you and by Jennifer. And so if you could make this bigger, I only think it's, everybody's gonna be better off, but it appeared to me that you've followed the letter of the law, and so I think Lola's correct, and I don't think you're gonna be necessarily required to do more, but this is a tragedy of the commons sort of issue that we've all been able to ignore for a while, and pretty soon we're not gonna be able to ignore it anymore. Jennifer, God knows where it goes, if it functions, where that pipe goes, if it's carrying much water, no water, if it's collapsed under your old property or under Casey's property, or.
Yeah. That pipe doesn't even deal with any of this. That pipe serves the street, which doesn't even get down to our yard.
And by the way, God knows if much water's even getting into it from the street. It could have collapsed at the street well before now. So it's really
It takes on, it does a good job of taking on water, and where it goes, who knows, but so
Once
far.
you do know water's flowing through it.
Yeah, a lot of water flows through
Okay,
it.
well, that's good.
So I can tell, it's definitely taking it on. Certainly, there's a concern at one point in time, there could be a clog or collapse, and we'll know for sure.
Yeah, it would
because-
shoot out.
Yeah, it would come out, and then it would probably go down our driveway into our yard, in which case we probably need just to tear down the house and put a whole garden across.
you know, put it up on.
Lots of trees, rain garden.
That's being done in a lot of places that nobody ever dreamed it would need to be done. So the planning committee, I think, recommended approval based on your plan, so I understand you have not been back from Mr. Bullock, is that correct? You did not go back to, did you go downtown and get them to stamp anything?
I have not, I emailed Pam and said, the last time we had talked about that, what's the procedure, and she said, well, at the end of the day, Watershed's gonna make you have a new site plan stamped and filed, because it's over 1,000 square feet.
We
so.
haven't heard that for about 20 minutes, so I think that's,
There must have been a meeting.
what's your pleasure, Laura?
Well, but what is the site plan that we do have that's,
It shows a 40 square foot radius, that's.
this is not still
No, I don't-
today.
Let's see, where's the stamp?
Hold on, let me see.
I don't, as far as being stamped goes, this is all that Pam's given me. You mean her stamp on it?
Yeah,
No, the
The
cities.
city's, it has not been filed, so it hasn't been stamped.
Oh.
I haven't taken it down there yet. The stamp, that's with our original application, the site plan of the original application.
So we have to have that, because we have to, no, we have nothing to
You
condition
need that
this
by
on
next
being
Monday?
by next Monday.
Okay.
And so you may, as at this point, I would really, if you take this down, you will, it has the rain garden on it, so
Yeah.
we'll stamp that, and
Okay.
we'll have that on there. So we can make a motion to recommend approval based on your applicant's provision of a site plan, matching this one.
Yep.
To be provided for us, I would really appreciate it if you didn't, if we could avoid the drama and not try to do this Monday afternoon.
No,
Because if it
no.
screws up Monday, if there's any problem at City Hall and you can't get it done,
Sure.
the NPU is just gonna punch you for a month. So if you try to do it this
I-
week, you can give yourself some cover time, you probably won't need it.
We'll take care of it this week. I've got a copy that Pam already made me, I can always ever print one. Do you wanna keep that one, or should I take that?
Well, we've still got your side signature on this, so we'll keep this one.
Okay.
Well, this is the one we agreed to.
So-
Yeah, and this
Planning
is the
meeting
exact
on
same.
Okay,
10:11.
so can you either get an electronic copy of that, or just shoot over to Lola, the date that you did this, and bring it with you to the NPU meeting, okay?
Okay.
Because we need to see it then if you don't bring it to us.
I was
before
wondering
then.
if I could ask a couple of questions. One is, did you get permission to take down the boundary trees from your neighbor?
As far as I know, they're entirely on my property. Well-
Then they're not boundary trees.
I didn't say they were boundary trees.
Well, I'm sorry, this is fair.
No, I wrote that, so that's my error, they're in the setbacks.
Okay.
Oh, and the setbacks.
Yeah.
So they're within your property.
Yeah.
Okay, and the second question I have is just a question.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody could answer, but when you're taking down 60 inches of trees, that impacts runoff.
Yes, we noticed that, that was Jess's point. However, the city, I'm impressed. Unfortunately, the city didn't calculate it that way, so they will either require him, if they choose to sit down and make him do further mitigation, or they will not, and we can't require it.
So you're paying recompense on these trees, or you're planting trees back?
We don't have a landscape, we had a landscape plan we got done over a year ago. We're gonna probably have Chris Morgan readjust it to account for the addition. We do plan on planting trees, but we'll probably be a mix, so 60 inches is a lot of,
There's no way
Inches
that
to add.
they're gonna pay recompense is what the bullets told us.
I think you had some calculations on your recompense already.
yeah, well, there's $2,000 that Pam, our architect, calculated for us. It's for,
One pine and one hardwood.
yeah, it's an elm is the one closest to our house, and then there's a hackberry with an almost dead box elder growing out of it.
Yeah, I believe that one is,
I don't even think I'm.
but you've got a 24, a 36 and a 24.
Yeah, that's right.
One's a pine, one's a hardwood. And that was the plan, was they're gonna
Sure.
pay recompense,
But-
minus whatever they work out for all.
Yeah, it was mentioned that those are doing a good job of soaking up a lot of water that's creating problems, so.
That was our first comment on the site visit, that's another reason we're unconvinced that this is gonna be nearly adequate enough, but to the best of my knowledge, the city does not specifically have a way in the ordinance of calculating that. It's a weakness in the ordinance. All right, further discussion, comments, questions?
You made a
Is it-
motion, right? Was it seconded?
I'll make that a form of a motion, is there a second?
Second.
It's that we're proceeding as, but you have to bring us this,
Oh, sure.
yeah. Any further questions or comments from anyone? All those in favor, please raise your hand. All right, you're on, we'll see you next week. You know where, it's on here, it's, take a look at your address.
Oh, right here.
Hillside. Yeah, don't be real late, and if you do.
I apologize, I was over at the library. I guess
That's
I missed
okay.
it last time.
That's all right.
Sorry. It's the holidays that get us, and they take away the budget.
All right, so, but next week,
Hillside is on Monroe, and it's.
It's on your original list that you got from.
oh, okay,
from
from
Debbie.
Karen, oh,
From
from
Karen and
India,
Debbie.
That's right.
Yeah.
But don't, you might wanna peek at it early, cause there's a gate there. And
Okay.
you have my cell phone number?
I don't, right now.
404-454-6892. I should be there. But if you can't get in, you can try doing that, but try not to wait real late, because you may be waiting around for somebody to come out the gate so you can get in.
Right now, I'll definitely be there,
And
plenty of time.
It may be a little while, so come bring your patients.
Sounds good, thank you all.
You'll learn a lot, it'll be good.
Yeah,
Thanks,
that's good.
Kate.
It's all good.
Thank you.
All right, Casey, thank you very much.
You're good.
I think the next item on our agenda is the 2014-15 committee appointments. They are listed here in front of us with the addition that I somehow was trying to get there to line up the margins on this thing. Deleted the safety appointments, which are Peggy Berg as chair, Brandon Patterson. In addition to that, I'd like to do those separate from the appointments to the board, if we can take those up. Is there a motion to accept these?
Brandon Patterson was a committee member on
Yes, sir.
safety.
Yes, sir. Ms. Berg is out of town this week. Ms. Freilich is working out of town. Is there a motion to accept these for
So moved.
discussion, comments, fears?
What does it mean, a rotating chair for the planning committee?
It means we
Why
take,
do you have a rotating chair?
because that's the way the planning committee has chosen to handle it. It works
Okay, so what is the reason?
because
Why?
we distribute the responsibilities variously as it goes around through the year.
Don't want to overburden one individual.
There's a lot of different assignments in there. It's worked out pretty well so far. To the best of my knowledge, nothing's fallen through the crack, and we've been able to respond to everybody promptly when they needed help. Any other comments, thoughts? Shall we accept them as presented? Well, I move to do so. Already have, wait,
A second.
already have, it's already been seconded. Is there comments or thoughts?
My name's spelled incorrectly.
No way.
Way. It's Hewell, Hewell. But I'll answer to you.
Do you want to make that
As
motion?
anything
Do you want to make a motion to correct that?
I'm sorry?
Nothing. All right.
That was non-rational.
Exactly.
Apologize, babe.
Oh, no worries.
I'll try to be on the same chapter with you from now on. Any other comments? All in favor of these appointments as stated, they can be changed, of course, please raise your hand. All right, appointments to the Virginia-Highland Conservation League Board. We have dwindled down to fewer than we need on the board. The normal term is 3 years. I guess it's from the moment of appointment, although I'm not sure, I believe that's what their bylaws say. I put that in there because that's what Pam had told me. So Jenny has agreed to serve, which is great. Judy had agreed, Judy Potter, whom some of you may know, I don't know if how many do or not, she's a 30-year resident of the neighborhood and worked on the history of Virginia-Highland with Carrie and Lola, thank you. So she's agreed to serve. She's not a longtime resident. I had agreed because we needed 4 people, and Lola had agreed. That would leave us only 2 vacancies on that board.
And Pamela's on it.
And Pamela's already on it, although I think Pam's term is up and we might ought to reappoint her. So maybe we should add that name in there to her.
What's that one thing?
So the Conservation League is a 501c3 to which tax-deductible donations can be made for specific purposes within the guidelines of the group. It was originally founded to handle the funding applications for North Highland Park, and has also accepted donations for John Howell Park and other groups of that. And it has a fairly broad rubric, but it is for purposes of the association and advocated by the association and consistent with its lawful goals and so forth. And if that's a little vague, it's because if you'd like to be appointed to that board, I can make you an expert rapidly on this if you'd like to be on it. But there are some anticipated uses for it, including Councilmember Juan had asked us to consider using it as the vehicle for a more organized push on the effort to try to make sure the fire station is preserved. And because we're in a position to do so, most nonprofits who use fiscal agents for that charge from 2.5% to 7.5% handling fees of the money that comes in, and I think VHCA is in a position to charge a lower rate like 0, which would be useful. And it does file an annual tax return, and it's been audited. I mean, we have a CPA fill out the return every single year. So it's been, I think, managed appropriately, and all the money is well accounted for. But we do need we need some people there, and it involves 2 or 3, I think a minimum of 2, and maybe it's quarterly meetings. We have to figure this out. We have not, we need a little more attention to the formalities there. And Frazier served on it, Paul Burke served on it, I think Karen might have served on it, but they've served their time and moved on, so we need some new folks here.
Do you do anything other than the quarterly meetings? I mean, that's maybe a horrible question.
How much effort?
Yeah. Like it's managing the new thing with Alex, do you get requests like that often?
I think that would be 1 in 3 years. But, and so we haven't.
Something like the Friends of Warren Parks use that vehicle for their projects?
Historically, for reasons that date back to their origins, which went back to the late 90s, they've used Park Pride, ironically, and stayed with Park Pride. And there was a little bit of a reason to do that because they got grants from Park Pride, as we did for our other 2, but we didn't use them for the other two. We used, but that's kind of an odd anomaly there. They've just, it's been the
But I
way
mean,
it's.
that would be a kind of a
But that would be
project, that
it.
would be.
That's right. If you did
makes sense to
fundraising,
do that.
you put the money in there, and that way it saves you the trouble of opening bank accounts and managing the money and filing returns and all of that kind of cool stuff. So that's really what's fun. I know Justin hadn't done, we probably could do a lot better job if we wanted to think of things like that. But Robin, are you interested in anything more?
No, think about it until you.
Yeah, you can. You really can. I wanted to just make sure we had a functioning group here that could formally make decisions more than anything in accordance with the bylaws.
Say a strong maybe, but not
A strong maybe. All right. Would Ms. Hewitt be interested if Ms. Hewell isn't?
I don't think so, just because
Yeah. Okay,
once Summerfest starts up,
I know.
that's kind of consuming.
Well, these are the appointments, but folks can resign, as we know, and can be replaced, and so,
Have we advertised it in the Voice? Have we solicited
no, we
other
have
members?
not. We have not.
Do we want to? Or
Or at least, I think this might be a good opportunity for people who aren't ready to make, you know, a bigger commitment to at least get involved. And, you know, even some of these people who email every once in a while.
Well, I mean, gosh, I wonder if we have any of those around.
Is it open to the public, or is it?
You have to be a resident of Virginia-Highland, which you are, so,
Do you like to be-
but we had other things in mind for you, so. Not 2 or 3 meetings a year. You're gonna meet some people here that meet considerably more than 2 or 3 times a year. But that didn't rule that out. I mean, I think it's a pro forma appointment more than anything. It really is, you know, I don't think anybody comes up to you and ever says, thank you for your service, let me put it that way.
You know, someone reached out to me saying they'd like to get more involved in the neighborhood.
Yeah, this just doesn't strike me as the way to do it. We just wanted to get on,
very active.
this is not very
Well,
active at
but
all. That's why you're not getting on this.
You're not getting away
Not
that
that
easy.
Not a chance.
I see it as it started as, you know, we needed a place to put the money that we had for the park. And it is a good opportunity, but I think for somebody that doesn't know much about operations of the Civic Association yet, they may not know ways to make it mean more or work better for the association. I think that's part of it. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to somebody that has a lot of experience in the neighborhood and wants to do it. But I think somebody, if it's their first foray into being a part of the Civic Association, I think it would be one where they wouldn't have much to work on or much interaction with the rest of the group. I don't think it would teach them as much about Virginia-Highland Civic Association.
I think it's an old person's job. That's why I immediately thought of myself.
Then I can't do it.
That's true.
She doesn't meet the age requirements. She's out.
I mean, really, it's
Does it
pro
have to do
forma.
with real estate agent? I don't know.
Well, we can still do that, so if there are any ideas, but this is not this is not a fish I would troll, a piece of chum I would troll in the water. to
So
get
maybe
money.
not a Voice article then, but I guess I think it would be nice to, no offense, Jack, have some fresh blood, you know, bring in some.
Well, I want fresh blood, I'd rather have it more in the core of what we're doing.
But
not
that's
in the
too,
periphery.
you gotta,
Yeah,
you
I
gotta
think
ease
she's
it
right.
in.
No, I just don't see.
I see what you're, yeah, that's a good idea. to come
Well,
up.
Yeah.
Strategically, I think it does, it's important strategically, but I think it just doesn't really integrate you into the work that we all do. That's the thing I think. I see what you're saying, but there are other things that we do that aren't as time consuming, or maybe the time commitment is short-lived, which those are perfect for somebody who wants to be involved and start to learn how things work. Being on parks or safety, which only has one person on it, or now it has 2, but, you know, it's been suffering, and that has little bits and chunks of things you can do, and not.
Suffering is strong. It could use more help, it's not suffering.
Did I say,
Suffering.
wow, I didn't mean to do that. As far as.
In any case, it
commitments.
doesn't preclude naming other people here, but I completely agree with Lola. I don't think this excites you about anything. I mean, I'd rather have somebody volunteer in a burst for Summerfest or a tour of homes where you really meet people, get involved, produce a tangible result. unless somebody can come up with a strategy for VHCL that to really go out and actively fundraise, but we fundraise for activities. We don't just fundraise to fundraise, and it didn't work either, if you do that.
Does it have a president or a chair that sort of?
Pam's been the
acts as-
chair of the board, but I mean, the board can elect its own group. Really, this is just a formality more than absolutely anything, so we can have a formal meeting, ratify decisions, and not have it all be Pam, which is the way it's worked fine. It's just Pam has pointed out as a lawyer, she doesn't think, we really ought to have some members of the board, and,
I guess I just think 2 members of the board is enough, and I would like to see the last spot go to a non-board member.
it's,
If there is a last spot, are there
I
6?
think we can appoint as many as we want. I mean, I really don't think it matters.
Probably the bylaws.
Might have
Govern
something to say about it.
They probably specify a minimum number most likely, but anyway.
So I think there are some immediate needs just to make sure that we have the slots filled, but it doesn't mean that we couldn't have other folks on it. And I don't think we have to,
By the way, this is one board member, and you may have one fewer than you think soon enough, so, if you appointed all of these, so. Because Pam's not on the board, neither is Jenny, neither is Judy.
Lola.
well, we had talked about it in case we needed another one, but
Lola
that's fine.
resisted.
Oh, Lola's, okay.
Look, I don't care. You want to be on it, Jennifer? I don't.
No, I think a non-board member should be on it.
Well, we have 3 out of 4 under this approach, which is a pretty good number.
I would like, I guess, if we can wait a month, I guess I would like to explore if there are other people interested in doing this rather than just putting another board member on it. Is there an immediate need to fill this spot
Not
tonight?
any more than there's been for the last 3 or 4 months when we should have done it one and one. We just kind of forgot,
Yeah.
to be honest.
So can we not add someone next month as well?
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there are people who want to get involved, do things. There are shy people, maybe, there's some people who want to help the neighborhood but don't want to hang out with people.
But Jennifer,
Jennifer,
this is not doing anything. This
for
is
an introvert.
approving a tax return and the.
Yeah, but that's how some people serve, some people aren't people.
There's
No.
now 7 other committees that I'm fine, I mean, we can do.
I don't know, it just
these and-
seems weird that to have this group of, whatever we are, 10 people do everything and serve on everything. I would like to see it.
Well, we have a lot of people that have reached out to us and we've responded to them and said, hey, this is great. Would you like to be involved in safety? Would you like to be on communications? And we give them,
Sometimes those work
Plenty
out
of
to be people
opportunities.
that get involved, not always. but-
yeah.
And I'm curious, because the one person that you and I have talked about that we really wanted for one of your neighbors to be involved, and we made active efforts to get involved, cleverly parried those efforts.
Well, that's because
So I don't think that sticking her on this and saying, great news,
I'm
now
not
you're going to
thinking
2 of
about
these
her.
board meetings a year, what dignity.
No, she didn't come to me and say she
Well, I'm
wanted to
just
get
using her
involved.
as an exemplar of the phenomena. I don't understand the theory that if you're not willing to go get involved and do stuff, we should put you on some other thing where you don't have to do anything and then you will be interested.
No, Jack, for some people, they would like to give back to the neighborhood. They have very limited time, they have different talents. An accountant could be great for this. You could have a neighborhood accountant who would love to look at numbers and make sure the books are in order or help with that or facilitate that, but they don't want to hang out and talk to people all the time. I think that
I'm
I would like to
I'm not opposed to a neighborhood accountant.
I'm
who
not at
wants
all,
to
I just
look
think
at
they
numbers.
haven't stepped up to be in some of the other, it's not like people are just jumping on the ship. So I think, there are plenty of places.
I'll
for
tell you
people
what,
to
why don't we
go.
appoint Jenny and Judy, because that's not even a board member, I won't be on the list then.
Oh, I
How
thought
about
these
that?
people were on.
No,
that's-
no, these
Okay.
are potential
These are the
new
people to
appointments.
Okay.
And then we'll have 3 members, whether or not they
Yeah,
can have
someone
a
else next
meeting or
month.
not, I'll be glad to take my name off of there. How would that be? And then we can have Jenny and then we'll have
Jenny,
no, we'll
I'm
have
fine
0
with
board
approving.
members, 0 board
No,
members.
I'm fine with approving these. I don't think we need to add any more tonight. I would rather
Okay.
see if there are other people
You
interested in it.
find them and I will resign in the flash of my pen. I will resign and they can take my place. I will.
You don't need to resign, there's still open spots. I'm just saying, we don't need any of these people sitting around the table to fill the spots tonight.
Okay, y'all are out.
Let's give an opportunity to other
They look
people.
devastated.
Okay,
Let's
we
give an opportunity to other people.
I'm fired. Let's find
Can
those
we have a
people.
motion
I don't know.
for
I've forgotten.
Jenny Ferrero, Judy Potter, and Jack White to fill the vacant spots on the VHCA board? Pamela is still
I'll second.
a member.
It's been moved and seconded. How about some discussion on this? Can we have some
More?
discussion?
I'd like to talk about it. Would you like to?
Is there further discussion?
I'm
Anyone?
done.
We're getting to you. We're getting to you. Don't you? All in favor, please raise your hand. Let the record show I declined to vote for myself. Okay. Actually, this is a great time. Why don't you just go ahead and introduce yourself and explain
Sure.
why you're here and where you'll be tomorrow night, most relevant.
Yeah, I'm Billy Scott. I grew up in Roswell and then went to school in North Carolina and DC, but moved back to the area. My wife and I bought a house on Highland View in February. Before that, we lived in the Virginia-Highlands apartments for about 9 or 10 months. And then found the house that was perfect for us and didn't want to leave the neighborhood. And so, hopefully we'll be here for a long time. I just wanted to see if there was a way I could get involved and participate.
And Billy
And
plays
tomorrow night,
trivia
I will
on
be
Tuesday nights.
whooping Jack's rear end in trivia.
We come on, Taco Mac on Monday night. We'll talk.
Julie, I'm sorry, what is your last name again?
Scott.
So I immediately thought, personally, of Summerfest and the Tour of Homes, because this is where the two needs where there's a huge need right away. But if you have, if you're interested in safety or other issues in particular, we'd be happy to slot you in.
Sure, well, whatever y'all think, I'd love to just sort of,
Well, it's really what your interests lie.
Yeah, have you looked at the list of committees and areas where you can serve?
I glanced at it, but I'm not.
It doesn't tell you much about what you'd be.
Yeah, I kind of figured out
So
Summerfest
if
and Tour of
you'll hang
Homes,
around
but,
for a few more minutes, we'll pitch you like,
Sure.
like lenders at Lending Tree.
Uh-huh.
You can go from table to table and we'll try to recruit you for our various
What do
committees.
you do as a profession?
I'm an attorney.
Maybe
Is your wife eager to?
She's also an attorney and works a lot more hours than I do, so it probably she probably won't be as involved, but I'm sure she'll.
Well, every now and then.
Yeah, and
That's good enough.
I volunteered at Summerfest. That's actually where we met. Was at Summerfest, at the Kids Fest.
Oh, yeah.
And then at the.
That's where you met Paige or where you met?
Paige, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I remember.
And I just on a whim volunteered at Summerfest and had a blast, and so I'm sure I'll recruit her to join me next year.
Great.
And to the general meeting, and your, what's your address or where are you on Highland?
1028. We're when you turn right, if you're going toward Ponce, you turn right on Highland View. We're the first house on the right, sort of up the steps, not the big house in the corner, but the first one right there.
Well, thanks for coming, and there is a real need, and from such innocent beginnings have many ominous things happened in a lot of people's lives, so thank you for coming in.
And any friends, neighbors that you want to?
Sure.
And Tour and Summerfest are just interesting ways to see if that is your cup of tea, and if
Yeah.
it's not, there is a ton of, safety's a peculiar animal, but there are real needs here, so we'll talk to you a little bit more, we'll hang around. Let's go to a Tour of Homes update. Would you like to?
Sure. We will have our website up this week, so we'll be selling tickets starting this week. Our PR efforts with Liz something, gotta call her LL, so.
Liz Lapis.
Yeah, pretty much, we're gonna do probably 25 or so free ticket giveaways, and also gift certificates to all the restaurants that are, and then a couple of other local businesses. So we'll have those going on on Facebook. So you guys want to like us, or, spread the word on there. We will have we'll start our ticket sales at the walk-in places, probably by the end of the week as well. Eleanor will be, launching her volunteer spot, so she'll be looking for a couple hundred people.
We're,
Oh, he thinks it's
we're a
a
different
different
meeting.
Where it's a different meeting, but you're welcome to be, you're always welcome here as well.
I apologize.
No,
It
no.
took me a few seconds to look around and not see a single face over there.
But you're no less welcome in any
But you
case.
happen to know then,
Did we not already do it?